Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the doctor. Today we have a special guest interview here today with us. We have Miss Wilson.
Hi.
So, Miss Wilson, what made you decide to come on the show?
Well, you were talking a lot about how you wanted to put the talent online, and it kind of inspired me to do something about the school, and I wanted to change the policy about wearing hats and hoods up in school.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another one out for the cause of another true noble marksman just like myself. But, Miss Wilson, what personally do you have for this cause? Is my recent experiences have drawn something of a personal matter. What to you?
Well, personally, me, I like to wear hoodies a lot. It's like a hobby of mine to collect hoodies. So I have like hundreds of hoodies. I even have multiple hoodies from the school, and I love to wear hats ever since I was a kid. And I know multiple of my friends have, and so like to have a teacher or staff make us, take it off. It's kind of like I don't know the right word, but
Disrespectful of your freedom of speech?
exactly, yeah. And it's a part of the First Amendment as like the freedom of speech, belief, religion, freedom of expression is a part of that. And your clothing attire, you can wear what you want, basically. So it's going against the First Amendment.
Now, I've seen in this school that there have been many children that wear handkerchiefs as, well, what do they call it?
Like bandanas.
Like bandana. I've seen
Yeah.
many children wear bandanas as something covering themselves on one or more occasion. Now, but before we continue to this, I do respect the opinions of the school administration, Miss Wilson, those of religious affiliates, more of those children that are religious in the fact of what is it? They wear the head scarves or
The hijabs.
the hijab. Yeah, there we go. As you guys can blatantly see, I'm not very prone to etiquette on this, but I do respect all those bases, and I don't mean to wish that those students who are religious in the fact of the hijabs that they get some sort of exception. No, I'm just saying that I'd like to help support Miss Wilson's cause because I do feel that we're kind of left in the as students we're kind of left in the dark as to why this has become such a concern. I've seen more and more students wear their hats, wear their hoodies, and wear handkerchiefs on their or bandanas. I mean, but Miss Wilson.
And see, this is the thing: is if you wear like a bandana, they're fine with that. And the few kids who do wear hijabs, sometimes it's just like the head, and sometimes it's like the whole body. But still, you're covering more of your face is being covered wearing a hijab than just a hat or a hoodie. Plus, with the winter time, one, it's cold, so you want to wear a hat, and two, more than likely, your parents are going to force you to wear a hat. So by the second you walk into school, oh, take off that hat, take off that hoodie, and you're still freezing cold, you know and they were talking about how it's this big security issue, and they were showing me the security cameras. Well, kids wear different things all the time, and having your hood up or your hat up or hat on or whatever, no one wears the same thing. And you can see in the cameras the screens are very, very small, and there's like what, like 3,000-4,000 kids in the school. And during passing periods, they're moving so quickly, so it's hard to see them in general on those cameras. And they say, oh, well, we won't be able to identify your face. Well, how is it covering your face is what I'm saying. And each hat and whatever, it's different, so you'd be able to track them down. I think would be easier since it's covering your hair, and most people have the same hair tie. Yeah. So
it'd be more of a, I actually agree with Miss Wilson on this point. It is kind of more of a distinctive feature. Like if you're wearing a hat with green and purple polka dots and it's just me and my blonde hair, you would kind of look for the person with the green and purple polka dots.
Exactly.
I do feel that you may get some backlash and negativity from the school administration, as I have, as some of my ideas in the past. It becomes a time to when you have to realize when you've said all you've said and you can do all you can do. From my aspect, it is kind of hard to push the school into new ideas and it's kind of hard to make them understand what this is because they're not living our day-to-day lives. They're living their own.
Mhm.
And it's not to say that the school administration is doing a what's the word, instead of using something like piss poor, inadequate job. It's not that fact. It's the fact that there are, like you said, so many kids in the building and it's hard for them to keep track. But do you feel, what do you have to say against those naysayers, the administration, other students, just that in general?
About like the whole topic or about just them in general?
Well, what would you have to say against them? Because there are going to be some students, some staff, and some adult members that may come back to you with their reasons about why this is a bad idea and it shouldn't be put in the first place.
Well, first, like when you were in like elementary school or middle school, they would tell you, oh, you can't wear hats, you can't wear hoods because of like gang affiliations and like bad words and like
Being disrespectful.
and like it like sexual like images on
Mhm.
it, you know? So, and most kids don't wear things like that. And then they told me, oh, well, that's not the reason. It's a safety issue. I'm like, well, I mean, how would it be a safety issue in the first place? And they're like, oh, if someone's trying to get into the school that's not supposed to get into the school. And I'm like, even if that was the case, whether they had a hat or hood on or they didn't, it's still going to be hard to find them on those cameras.
Mhm.
And I just feel like they're hypocritical, inconsiderate, and they don't care. They care about the students, but they don't care enough.
They're not looking at it. They're only, it almost reminds. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. The audio just cut out. Uh, but anyway, as we were saying, you said that they were kind of hypocritical and that the administration wasn't caring about the students.
Mhm.
Is that what you said?
And like I get, you know, their jobs are important and they have a lot of factors that contribute to it, but the main majority of their job is to help teach and protect and create a safe learning environment for children. And I mean, yes, bullying is like a big thing, and I know this is kind of off topic, but like bullying happens all the time. And unless there's physical evidence of that,
Mhm.
they won't believe you. I know from myself, and I've reported this happening, and multiple of my friends have reported like incidents of bullying happening, and nothing's ever been done. And this, how is wearing a hood or a hat harming anyone?
I can tell you, for instance, and many of you listeners may have heard this, a kid a while ago jumped on my back. I came down to the dean and he said he'd look into it. Then all of a sudden, wham, the kid comes in and he tells the dean, and this is what I get back. He talks to the dean, this is what I get. He said, the dean told me that the kid had told him he didn't do it. There was no affliction, there was no instance of action. But yet I have witness reports and this on camera as well. And this was a year ago, and I never pursued it because if I were to, I'd be alienating myself even more to risk of expulsion or uh, what was it, expulsion or suspension, because if I were to keep pushing this issue because it's not school regulated or it's not something that the school would concern themselves with.
I also can add a point to that. Like we've mentioned, there's hundreds of cameras inside and out of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And last week, I came out of school and I drive to school every day, and it was a warm day, so it wasn't because of the cold or anything. But I came out of school, and I walk in my car, and there's this humongous crack in my windshield going all the way from the bottom to the top, from the left to the right of my windshield. And you can tell someone hit it by because the indention it made. I mean, it's not bad enough to where like water leaks through when it rains, but they just didn't care.
But just a sense of having something of yours stolen or broken or anything. If these administrators and deans care so much to say that it's about a big safety concern and we have all these cameras, then Miss Wilson is proving to me that it's not a big concern to them about safety. or the fact that they're looking at these cameras, but they turn a blind eye to when things come haywire, or it even turns to me that they don't wish to look for. They like to go with the flow. They like to go with the grain. They don't want to stir up anything. They actually hate me because I'm a rebel rouser. I'm a muckraker. I stir up what isn't there. I brought to the attention of my counselor, my social worker, the deans, about students electronically using electronic cigarettes a while ago, and they told me that that is not, that they are getting to it. But every single day I see it, and it looks to me that these, I get it. This is a very big school. It's a very busy place. But are you telling me it is that hard for you to, even when I can see it, that they know it's a big issue? And even in today's society, back then everybody called me crazy for saying that this wasn't an issue, and it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're getting news reports left and right saying that it is bad and it is the same as smoking.
And what I can add with that, like what I said earlier with the bullying and how like I went up to them and told them about it and they did nothing. But I know this, like from witnesses, like this has happened to my friends, and my friends have seen this happen. You can go up to them and be like, "Oh, I know so and so was vaping, or so and so had like a dab pen. Do you know what that is? Okay, and they won't even second guess it. They'll go and search that kid.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone's being bullied, I mean, like, okay, yeah, that's an addictive drug, and you can overdose on it with enough of it, but like,
Do you want to hear your favorite songs throughout the day during the last minute of passing period? Do you want to donate money to a good cause? Pay $1 per song or $5 for a whole day. All proceeds go to the American Cancer Society. Visit the Dean's office and request today. Brought to you by the Relay for Life Committee. You might think Junior Ranger Ada Fry is an ordinary girl from Chicago, but you'd be wrong. She's actually the sweetheart of all national parks. And in this travel diary, she shares the delightful stories from her fun-filled America's 200 national parks. Be sure to check out a copy of America, Can I Have Your Autograph? The Story of Junior Ranger Ada Fry, book by Ada Fry and Danny Dorfman.
how much you'd bring to school. Kids aren't stupid enough to bring that much to school to die. But with bullying, that can lead to stuff as self-harm, suicide, or even school shootings.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. And they're not concerned about that.
Add to the fact that we've had we've had one instance last year, and I think it was around Halloween, or I think it was Halloween.
Yeah.
That there was a scare going on, and it really shook everyone up because of social media. And after this point, I would like to bring it back to the Miss Wilson's topic of hats and all that. But due to social media, we have now become this vulnerable, weak society into where someone can say something on social media and it can be spread like a virus or a wildfire. What we need to start doing is we need to start looking at these claims and these actions as either if they're fact or real. Then what we need to do is we need to say, do I want to spread this? Do I want to continue to keep this going? We need to push out the fake news of the society as far as what teens and everything do. And in the words, and I've said this on multiple videos, I don't care if you do it. Don't do it at my school. Don't do it on my bus. Because I have to come home and I have to listen to my father tell me, why do you smell like that? Why do you smell like synthetic, nicotine, and I don't smoke? If I were to put a cigarette to my mouth, I'd rather be putting, I wouldn't even know, because it's stupid. Wait until you're out of high school. Wait until you're an adult to start doing these things. So then you can leave everyone else out of it. But people say, oh, vaping isn't as bad as smoking. You don't get that harmful nicotine. You're still getting nicotine. You're still getting all these harmful substances and chemicals. Don't listen to these drug it's just like big oil and big pharma and whatever. It really kills me to see the stupidity of this generation going down. But I'd like to swing it back and to finish up before we take too long of Miss Wilson's time. Like, I want to know from you, do you think that this will be done, that this will be reached to a point where a lot of people will be talking about it, or do you think it'll be shut down immediately by administration?
Well, this is what happened. When I decided to do everything, this is my main plan for it all, was to make a survey, which I've made. And I had a few kids take it to, get results to see how much they cared about it, to show them, like, hey, this is an issue. People care about it. And they're like, okay, I'm contacting. And they're both on board with it. I contacted a couple of my good teachers
Now, are
in
you
the
sure?
past.
Now, when you talk about the superintendent and the principal of the school, and you're saying they're on board with it, have they told you either through text or through like face to face? They've said that this is a good idea and we should pursue this further.
Not in that words, but they were like, we want to help you be successful in this, and we'd like to talk more about it. So it was very positive. And so, I had help with multiple teachers. I had like help from multiple students, and I got really far in the first 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next week I was sick and out of school for the entire week. And so then last week, I kept working on it, and then I'm like, the survey I made was completely finalized, and I'm like, hey, can you, to the one teacher who was helping me like with my survey, I'm like, hey, can you help me with this? And he completely ignored me. And then so I went to the other teachers I asked for help, and they all completely ignored me and like won't even talk to me in the hallways or say hi to me anymore. So I don't know. I yet again, but I plan on doing that sometime soon. But still, when I tried to talk to her in the beginning, she just kept like, oh, I can't talk to you. Sorry, I have this meeting. Sorry, I have that meeting. I'm like, okay, I get it. You have meetings. I get it. You're the school principal. But then again, you're the school principal and you're supposed to be running the school. So shouldn't you be in the school, not at another building in a meeting?
Shouldn't it be more? What you're saying is, shouldn't it be more of a, you should be here looking at what you have instead of going out somewhere else and discussing what to be made. It's like the ending of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where the boss gets hogtied and dragged to Clark Griswold's house, and the boss says, "Oh shit, it looked good on paper, but now that I'm seeing how it affects people's lives, it turns out it was a bad idea." That needs to start happening today. They need to come in. They need to see the superintendent, the principal. Everybody just needs to come in to see what plans they've put into perspective or what plans they put into effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then they need to look at it and they need to tell themselves, is this going to be a good idea started as it was starting, or do we need to change this? And that's what they're not doing. They're looking at it, they're writing it down on paper, and then they say, oh, it sounds good, and then they never touch it again because they don't want to deal with it. They want to keep running their lives. They want to keep going with the flow, going with the water. And I do wish you luck on this adventure.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, I've felt difficulty dealing with this, but I kind of feel, like you mentioned, the online talent, I kind of feel like that's going to be somewhere going good.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope that they don't turn it into, they go away from what I originally envisioned. Like right off the bat, like if I were to say one thing, if I were to give you an idea and you were to take that idea and use it as your own and change only bits and pieces of it to where I couldn't even recognize it or say, hey, that's my idea, I'd be devastated. I'd be crushed.
Mm-hmm.
I would go into the graduation, look them straight in the eye, say thanks for nothing, and then leave.
And you see, the thing is they're so hypocritical. They're always like, oh, we're here to help you if you need anything. We're here for guidance, college planning, SAT prep, this and that. And they have I don't know about the boys' bathrooms, but in the girls' bathroom, every single girls' bathroom, there's millions of posters of like, be yourself, love yourself, you're not the only
Yeah,
one,
same here.
stuff like that. And they talk about it, on the announcements, and like there's all these like clubs and stuff, but most of the clubs get shut down because people don't even go to them because they feel afraid to speak in them.
Or they don't even hear about it because
Exactly.
You've got, during the announcements, everybody and their grandmother talking, and you're hearing the teacher like saying, "Shut up," and then you miss it. You miss those deadlines. You miss those opportunities, like I have in the past.
So, like, they just keep acting like they care and that, they want to help, but then in the end, they never really do. And that's the sad part because, these are kids still trying to figure out who they are while, trying to start their lives academically and career wise. And, they're confused and don't know what to do and they need help on so many aspects. And they're like, okay, we'll help you. And then they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their job. So
I mean, they can say back and forth. Like I'll give you for instance. I went in to go talk to my counselor the other day, and she said, and I was failing one of my subjects, and she said, "Oh, don't worry. If you fail that subject, you'll still be available to graduate." I come back into where I was with my teacher, and he said, the students misconstrued that to say, you don't have to care about your grade or what you get in or what you do in class, because if you fail, you're still going to graduate. And before we let go and Mrs. Wilson says her final words, sorry about that, time constraints, but here's the biggest lie of them all. I am a senior in high school. I am about to graduate. In my entire life, I have never once studied for the SATs, studied for the PSATs, never studied for these big end of the month tests. I study for the tests that we have in class, like the daily quizzes or usual like a math test or an English test or what we've read on a book. But the big ones, the PSAT, the SAT, never studied it. And I passed again and again and again. And everybody freaks out like, oh my God, how can you study for something that you don't even know what you're needing to learn? You could study 2 plus 2, you could study your addition tables throughout from point A to point B towards the beginning of the SATs, and it turns out you needed to study multiplication. But Miss Wilson, before we end this conversation, I'd like to know, what words do you have for my listeners? Few though as it be, the ones that listen are the ones who have hearts of gold.
I would say thank you for listening and thank you for your time. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please let the doctor know so that he could tell me. And I think that's it. And thank you again.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying it for a few years, and I continue to still reach with my opinion, but as you can see, I'm not the only one who isn't afraid to voice her own opinions. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Doctor, and I'd like to thank Miss Wilson for coming on the show, and I'd like to thank you all for listening.